Hey everybody, welcome to the pilot episode of Chat and Games, the podcast dedicated to Nintendo, our own dedication to Nintendo. My name is Melvin Rodriguez. I am the host of this podcast, and I'm joined by the sexy voice of the business, Matt.
I guess that's me. I'm Matthew.
Yeah,
Hi.
You cannot tell me that that's not a sexy voice. How you doing, bud?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So, what is Chat and Games? Is a section of It's All Fun and Games, that ecosystem, and this is the podcast section of it. What are we gonna be talking about? Mostly Nintendo games. We're gonna have a theme every week, we're gonna discuss various aspects associated with that theme. The theme for this week is the Fire Emblem preview, and we're gonna be talking about Mario Maker 2, our thoughts and impressions so far, and what we want to see in the future. In other podcasts in the future, there may be some unrelated topic to the theme that we got going on, but today we're gonna keep it nice and simple. All right, buds? All right. So, first things in the docket. Where can we find this podcast? It's gonna be you can find it on audio form in SoundCloud, iTunes, or you can find it in video form on YouTube. Or if you want to watch it live because you just want to see what this voice sounds like, you're not gonna see the sexy voice, but you're gonna see this voice. It's gonna be we're recording it live on Twitch as we speak. All right, buds. As far as the schedule to when this is gonna be released, we're gonna be posting those details on the various social media. So keep an eye out for that. So Matt, you wanna get us started? Let's go in and talk about Fire Emblem Three Houses. At the time of recording, the game comes out, I guess, in a week and 2 days.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, July 26th.
Next Friday.
Exactly. We're recording this on a Thursday, July 17th, so a few days away, but we got a lot of things to say about the game so far. So Matt, can you just give us your explanation of what a core Fire Emblem game is?
Okay, so Fire Emblem is a series of turn-based, grid-based strategy RPGs developed by Nintendo. They've been around since the NES days, with a focus on characters, individual unique characters with their own abilities and personalities that you lead as an army to fight. And yeah, I would say that
sums it up. I just found out today while doing research that there have been 16 games about Fire Emblem. Mainline.
If you want to count Fire Emblem Warriors and stuff, get a bit higher.
Okay, yes. But it's incredible, like the amount of games that come out of this franchise, it's mind-blowing. Like, I only started recently. My own experience with Fire Emblem so far has been, I think I tried Awakening, never finished that one, and I did Birthright. That's pretty much it.
Yeah,
but you, man,
you have some interest in the series. You've kind of done a bit of reading up from the sounds of it.
Yes. No, I bet like the lore and story behind it kind of appeals to me. Just the gameplay of Awakening for some reason didn't captivate me. I think at the time I also didn't have the time. So that's a big issue because this game take a while to complete, especially if you want to go different routes.
Especially if you're not really used to the style and it takes you an hour to finish every map, as you told me.
Yeah, especially, well, it depends on also the type of game style that you pick, like classic, permadeath. We're gonna be talking all about that. So for now, let's talk about a little bit of what Three Houses is all about. Do you want to give us a rundown, or you want me to go through it?
I can sort of give you what I know, at least.
All right, let's give it a shot.
Three Houses is a Fire Emblem game where the main premise is you are a teacher at a school, and you pick one of 3 houses to instruct, each of which contains 8 different students. So there's a system in place for scheduling lessons, managing time throughout a calendar in order to increase the abilities of all your students, interspersed with kind of typical Fire Emblem grid-based battles. And eventually, at some point in the story, you'll graduate from the academy. There will be a bit of a time skip, and then it'll be more like a proper Fire Emblem game, is my understanding.
That's correct. There's a few things that are happening in the past that essentially the academy and the hub area, which is basically what is going to be defined as your hub area. You can go there regardless of the time skip, but things that you do in the past are more prominent on the place that you teach, while in the future is more, there's going to be more war, more combat-based system.
Yeah, it seems like the first half of the game, so to speak, is a lot about just building up your characters, and yeah, it all takes place at the academy, and then the second part, from what I understand at least, is more like a normal Fire Emblem game where you're kind of leading an army around the continent and fighting wars and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about a little bit of the gameplay side of things. Things are returning features, not necessarily from Birthright, because I believe that was the previous Fire Emblem, right?
Well, Shadows of Valentia.
Shadows of Valentia.
Technically, that was a remake, but
yes,
it had some new stuff in it.
Okay, but
one of which was a feature called Milla's Turn Wheel.
Okay.
Which you have yet to experience, but I think you are going to like a lot, because it's basically an undo button for Fire Emblem.
I did see that. They're calling in this game that is going to be called Divine Pulse.
Yeah, something like that. And I'm not sure if it's going to work quite the same, but in Shadows of Valentia, what it allowed you to do was basically, if a character died or something else very bad happened, you could activate it. You could activate it a certain number of times per battle, and you could basically revert time as many turns as you wanted.
Yes.
And start playing again from that spot.
Yes. No, So that's exactly how it works in this game, by the way, as far as all the information that I've been gathering. I think I haven't experienced it myself, but for me, it's a very interesting feature because I like to play with permadeath. I like that sense of, if I do the wrong thing, my characters are gonna die. But I'm in the middle of two sides. The main thing is I don't want any of my characters to die because I want to play strategically and do the right thing so they don't die, right?
Yeah.
But the other problem is that sometimes when I make a mistake, because as you can tell by when I play on Twitch, I'm a potato sometimes, right? So things happen. And then one of my units die, and it hurts me in my soul. So what I do is try to restart the level. But
sometimes you only become a potato after spending an hour on a level, and then all of that progress
just goes
down
away.
The drain.
And one of the reasons why it takes me so long to finish a Fire Emblem game. To give you some context, I started Birthright when it came out. I think it came out like 2015, 2014, somewhere around there.
Something like that.
And I just finished it 2 months ago. Like, it's insanely how long it takes me to finish these games, just because an hour of battle comes in and I just stop, because it makes me angry to be able to go back. So at the same time, though, having this Divine Pulse and having to rewind a few moves can also take the edge off of permadeath, because I made a mistake, I can go back a few moves and make sure that doesn't happen. It's good for correcting like minor things like tinkering. That's why I like it for. But I don't know if fans of the series are gonna be like, oh no, this takes the fun and the challenge out of it.
And personally, I found it was maybe a bit much in Shadows of Valentia. You would get more uses to it over time, and I think eventually it got up to something like 9 uses per battle, which for that game, because there was a lot of nonsense in Gaiden, which that game kept in. But for a normal game, I feel like just a small handful of uses per battle. And like I like it for just those times when you get crit by a 1% or something like that. Just the highly unlikely things that you think, no way this could ever happen, and then it does, and you're down a unit. Yeah.
Not only down a unit, but again, the one thing that Fire Emblem does really well, in my opinion, is making you care about some of the units.
Yeah.
About some of them, not some others. I'm like, okay, if you die,
some others not so much, but
it's fine. But when
they try at least.
Exactly, they try, and there's many different personalities, and we're gonna get to that when we talk about the houses as well. But having spent so much time with a unit and then just seeing it die, it just like crushes my soul, particularly. So again, I'm a 50-50 on the Divine Pulse. We'll see how it goes on in the future. One thing that is coming back to this game, apparently, is the weapon durability. So now your weapon runs out of durability and it becomes unusable. It's still usable, but it has reduced stats.
Yeah, that part's new. That they haven't done before. It used to just be that you lost the weapon altogether.
Oh god. Okay, I wasn't aware of that. What happens if when you lost the weapon before? You just get it? You have to find a new one, or
it's just gone. You had to buy a new one. You had to keep like a constant stock of weapons, and that was sort of always a thing in the older games. But recently, they've started trying to kind of do away with weapon durability. It seems.
I see.
Both Fates and Shadows of Valentia had different approaches to sort of removing it entirely.
Interesting. Well, at the very least, now it's reduced stats, so you have to keep that.
Yeah,
amount
so you can't
of weapons.
You can't end up with just no weapon on a character.
I see how that can be frustrating, especially it requires a lot more planning before you got going into the battle.
Right.
But again, for me, when I just want to do short bursts, especially with this kind of games, I kind of just want to pop the game up and try a battle. I'm not gonna go in and do some of the other stuff, but we'll get to what you can do in the hub. But another thing that comes out of this is the weapon arts.
Yes.
That apparently we're thinking about Shadow of Valentia. Can you explain a little bit more? I'm not entirely sure what this.
Yeah, so it's basically like special moves you can pull off that'll have some special effect. Like a lot of them just kind of do more damage, but I've seen some in this game where it's like you can give your archers extra range for a move so they can hit a further away target that they wouldn't normally be able to attack. So it's stuff like that, and in Shadows of Valentia, it was similar to how magic worked in that game, where if you ever used one of these, it would drain your health, which I was fine with, but I think I prefer this solution where it degrades your weapon faster. I think makes more sense.
Okay. No, I kind of like that personally, but I'm yet to experience it, so we'll see how it goes.
I enjoy that it kind of gives you a bit more in terms of options when you're fighting. It's not always just walk up to a guy and attack with your weapon. You have a few other things to consider beyond that.
Interesting. All right, so let's continue on with the returning features. Apparently, as featured in Heroes, you can toggle auto battle through the battle menu and turn it off via the ZL button, or ZL for you in the States.
I think a few other games have had auto battle actually.
I believe so.
Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure.
I believe at least
I would never use auto battle in a mainline game. I don't think.
No. You're too hardcore for that. Just so everybody's aware, Matt has played.
Well, I just don't. What's the point of playing if you're just gonna let the game play itself?
Well, there's other aspects of just combat, and we're gonna be talking about that as well.
All right.
And speaking of which, let's jump into a little bit of it.
Simulator.
The high school simulator part, which a lot of people say that Fire Emblem has been adopting quite a bit in the last titles. In the previous titles, you were able to marry another character and have a child, and then
you in this case being an avatar character,
exactly.
Which is sort of a new concept that they keep shoving down our throats.
Yes, but in this case, it's not an avatar character. In Three Houses,
it kind of is.
It kind of is, but it's not something that you can customize. You cannot customize the character.
You can still name them, I believe, and you can pick your gender. I believe that's it.
I don't think you can even name them. I think it's just valid. Yeah. So, still, it's the character that you get to. You can only choose genders at that point, I believe. Because your story is set, and the good thing about the time skip that we talk about at the beginning is that your characters actually age, and you can see a visual difference when it goes to the 5-year. Even the leaders of the Three Houses, you can see a significant difference. Apparently, in their attitude, we're yet to see the attitude, but at least in their visual representation.
They all look much better after the time skip, in my personal opinion. Except Claude. Claude's already perfect.
Okay, we'll get to who you're gonna pick. I guess you see who the bias are. But in terms of, let's go back to the high school simulator problem. So in the previous ones, again, the avatar character could marry another of the mainline characters and have a child. And they put up a lot of different mechanics, as people have said to me, but I only experienced the ones on Birthright. But on Birthright, you went to this, what I call the Shadow Realm. I don't know what the people actual name of it.
Pocket. We'll stick our kids in a pocket dimension, and they'll age up super fast.
Yeah, we're not gonna race them. Not gonna happen. Doesn't matter. We're just gonna go in, put them in there, let them age, so they can join us in battle, right? And a lot of a lot of the game was focused on that, like building relationship with the other characters so you can get the perfect child. I don't know.
And the other characters could marry each other as well.
Correct.
It's not just you.
Yes. Sorry, I should have clarified that. You, the avatar, can do it, but also you can get other characters to marry each other. But in this game, the marriage is still there. Childs are gone though. You cannot have a child with whoever you're marrying.
And I mean, I like the children mechanic, but it has to work with the story.
True.
And with Fates, it did not work with the story. It felt very shoehorned in.
Very forced in, absolutely. And this one, the good thing about this is that you build relationships at the beginning when you are in the academy. And those relationships that you build actually carry through once the 5-year time skip goes through, and only after the 5-year time skip is when you can actually marry somebody. I am yet to see what the gameplay implications are for the marriage. I'm guessing when you play that character and you pair them up with their spouse, potentially they will have an increase in abilities.
I think it's just a bigger support bonus, essentially.
Yes. But it doesn't have now the child mechanic associated with it.
Because beyond just getting married, you can just have characters like grow in their relationships, become better friends, and that will increase their proficiency when fighting near each other in battle.
That is very true. So for me, it seems like there's still the dating aspect and the high school dating simulator, as you want to call it.
Even though you're a teacher, so that's a bit weird.
It's a bit weird, yeah. But I didn't want to get into that part, but it seems super weird. It's like, okay, I'm pretty sure there are laws against that, but we'll just like medieval times, I guess. Next thing is the Three Houses will support the dual audio feature, so you can hear in Japanese and English voice cast, and the game is fully voice cast. As far as I know, but at least all the interactions between you and your students and the students between the students. Interesting.
So that's good. Shadows of Valentia did that, and it had very, very good presentation. I was quite impressed.
That's awesome. What else do we want to say? Well, similar to Fates, the story branches into different paths. By the way, I'm taking all of this from the wiki, just so everybody's aware. It's not like
this is the podcast where Melvin reads off a wiki page.
I'm not reading off a wiki page. It's just a matter of I want to provide you with where I got the information from. All right, I'm not trying to steal anybody's sources.
Right.
And then Fates, apparently there's also the story branches into different paths based on the chosen house.
But you don't have to buy a whole new game this time, so that's cool.
I was amazed. When they announced the game and it was called Three Houses, I first read 3 games. Because Fates was 3 games after all, right? Birthright, Revelation, and what was the other?
And I felt that they sort of stretched themselves too thin with that, so hopefully this game does that better.
At the very least, if they stretch themselves too thin, they at least it's one game, right? So you can no need to purchase anything else. Although there's DLC already, but we'll get to that. There's a lot of classes returning, which include like Mercenary, Thief, Knight, Cavalier, Brigand, Archer.
You can punch people now, though.
Yes, that's awesome. I saw that and I was like, yeah, okay, give me that. And the visual representation of the battles, I usually with Fire Emblem games, I skip battle animation, just because it's a lot faster. But the battles in the battle screen, when you zoom in and you see like you have armies now.
Yeah, everyone's got kind of their own little platoon with them, so it's not like a war between 12 guys on each side.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know how many battles I'm gonna have to see before I get tired and turn that off. But at the very least, for the first little while, it's gonna be very cool. But let's talk about new. So we talked about a lot of returning features. Let's talk about new features, new things that are coming in. So this is, I feel like it's taken from the Persona handbook.
Oh yeah.
The calendar mechanic that they had introduced to the game. So at the beginning, before the 5-year time skip, you have a calendar. I don't know if after you have it too, but at the beginning at least you have the calendar, which shows you all different activities that you can do every day. It shows you even people's birthdays, events that are gonna happen, classes that people are gonna take.
Yeah, so you have to kind of manage your time effectively to sort of build up your units. And the units in this game seem to be a lot more customizable than before. They don't have any kind of default class. Everyone can sort of do everything, and you can build them off in whatever direction you desire.
Yeah, there's a few exceptions. I believe magic is very restricted in some areas.
That could be, yeah.
Yeah, I think. Oh, yeah, it says right here, magic is restricted to some classes, and mounted units are unable to use brawl weapons. But that's
well, yeah. But like any character can be any class.
Oh, yes, that is very true.
Yeah.
It's just some of them are more proficient at some classes than others.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, it's sort of however you want to build these individual characters is sort of up to you.
Yes. So in terms of the characters, in terms of the calendar, at the end of each month, I believe there's a forced story battle that you're gonna have to do. So if you don't like the Persona calendar mechanic, you can actually skip it, which is nice for people that just want their traditional Fire Emblem. Which is like,
and it won't like cheat you out of all the stuff you would have gotten. I think it just automatically sets events and trains up your guys for you.
It's auto training. You don't get to do the tinkering like for the different stats or anything, or where you want to like mold your platoon to be. But yeah, at the very least, it gives you all the stats. That if you don't want to go through the whole high school simulator aspect of the game, which I thought is nice. It's like a nice compromise between the two things.
People should be able to play the game their way essentially. And Fire Emblem tends to be pretty good with giving players options for stuff like that.
Absolutely. And it seems like you're gonna be spending a lot more time in the hub though. So you have a lot of time that you're gonna be spending in the hub and also in battle. So that's gonna be an interesting side for the way that I used to play the game, which is just get into the battle.
There's gonna be a lot more preparation and stuff involved, and I think this might be the thing I'm most interested in regarding this game. I'm not necessarily sure it's gonna turn out to be good, but I think if done well, I'm gonna enjoy this a lot. Just how deep into tinkering you can get and really customizing these units,
and then actually upgrading them, which in this game is called they have to pass a certification
pass an exam,
which is
that's
really
cool.
Nice
flavor.
Exactly. I thought that was pretty awesome. Before you just just upgrade, but they actually have to take an exam. There's prerequisites that they have to meet.
I just like the idea that you had to pass an exam to become like a brigand, like a bandit basically.
And as an assassin, there's assassin classes too. Okay, well, I guess this is a school for everybody. Apparently, once a character has passed an exam, they can change into that class at any time without the need of another item. So
you
just kind of have to tutor them through these parts. They can basically learn different weapon types by tutoring. Am I saying that right? Can you
tutoring? Yeah,
exactly.
Close enough.
Close enough. I like that. And you can increase their skills with weapons like magic, healing, and even special unit types like riding, heavy armor, and flying, which is pretty cool. One of the things that you can do is you're a teacher, right? But there are other teachers in the area in the school, so you can, if you want your student to go in a particular route, you can basically go and ask them to join that class, and then the professors or the scholars in that area will teach your student, and that actually builds relationship with the other staff.
Yeah, and a lot of these teachers are actually playable as well.
Yes.
Units. I'm not quite sure how they come into play, but
well, yeah, I wasn't entirely sure yet. There's a lot of this game that we given out through the Three House events and all sort of information wise, I mean. But again, the game comes out July 26th. So I'm fairly stoked to be playing it, especially given the research that I've done so far. Next thing, what do we got? There's new classes, which is Noble, Commoner, Brawler, Grappler, Fortress Knight, and Warlock.
Yeah, so the first two, I think, Noble and Commoner, are basically just the starting classes. So they can just do whatever. Grappler and Brawler both sound like the Fist, so I assume one is just the upgraded version of the other.
Yeah.
I ain't catch those last two.
The last two were Warlock and Fortress Knight.
Okay, I don't really know what those would be. Fortress Knight sounds like some kind of heavily armored unit, but
Warlock seems like some magic user.
Yeah, some kind of magic.
Yeah. Again, if you want to find out more, go to the wiki.
I'm sure someone could tell you exactly what those do.
Oh, definitely. There's a lot of people that go in depth. We'll plug some of those channels because of them is why I know so much. So I want to make sure that those get recognition too. In terms of what else do we got? The pair-up mechanic has been replaced by adjutants. Apparently, when Blight reaches the Professor level C, undeployed units can be attached to deployed ones and earn experience. Although adjutants are ignored the deployment limit, then the number of adjutants that can be attached is limited by Professor level.
So it's sort of like there's a way to use your undeployed characters so that they don't completely fall behind in EXP, and they can sort of give boost to the characters that you have deployed.
One of the main things is gonna be all the activities that you can do in the game. Again, you have birthdays and all that sort of stuff, but you can even eat, like summon people to eat with you in the common area that will build up different attributes depending on the activity that you do. But there's also gonna be like side activities that is not just that, like they're kind of mini games. There is even a fishing mini game that is in there that we saw. So again, there's a lot of non-battling going through that you are also going to be doing. I enjoyed that aspect of Persona 5, so I'm personally excited for that aspect of the game.
We'll see if they manage to successfully bring Persona into Fire Emblem, because that's clearly what they're going for here.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are most of the main mechanics. Again, if you want a more detailed breakdown of the features, you can visit the wiki or the YouTube videos that I'm highlighting on the link below. If you are on Twitch, I will put them at the end of the live stream.